Hello and welcome to Meek Hibiscus. A few weekends ago, I attended my first ever Supanova. The main reason I wanted to go was to see Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum. I was a pretty big fan of Smallville throughout my teenage years. I also wanted to see Alan Tudyk, who played Keiju Esso in Rogue One and King Candy in Wreck-It Ralph. I also had a go at cosplaying for the first time. I chose a character from one of the first video games I ever played, Super Mario. Well, the other reason I chose Mario was I already had a blue dress. I just needed to get a red shirt, a red hat, and white tights. I stuck a red glittery letter M onto the cap, and I was good to go. I went to Supanova with my friend and her sisters. Supanova in Melbourne is held at the showgrounds. So instead of everything being inside one big building, it's spread out across a few pavilions and smaller buildings. So if buildings get too hot and crowded, you can always go outside and grab some fresh air. Though on that weekend, it was pretty hot outside. We first looked around the Grand Pavilion, where you could get photos and autographs from guests. It also housed stores with handmade collectibles, the Sons of Obi-Wan Lightsaber Academy. They were doing some pretty sweet moves. It'd be pretty cool to learn how to swing a lightsaber, but it seems they are based in New South Wales. Maybe there is a similar lightsaber school in Victoria. Next door, there was the Doctor Who fan club, which featured a talking Dalek. It was pretty freaky sounding. There was also a TARDIS console which had signatures all over it, and a real life-size TARDIS with a pink Dalek waiting outside. Next we made our way to the Film Inc. Theatre, where the panels were being held, to see how long the line was for Pearl Mackie and Peter Capaldi's panel. The line was already curving around the side of the building, so we thought we better line up. In the end, we had to line up for about an hour in the sun, but it was well worth it. I confess, I'm not the biggest Doctor Who fan, but I wanted to see Peter and see if he'd talk about Paddington. He didn't, but they talked about being in Australia, and Peter was happy to be so close to Moonee Ponds, the home of Dame Edna. Pearl was happy she hadn't seen any spiders yet, but someone had brought a fake spider and scared her with it. Someone else gave them gourmet Vegemite. I hope they don't try too much of it at once. Yuck! After that, my friend and her sisters went to have their photo taken with Elizabeth Henstride, and I went to look at the cosplay competitions. First up was the Madman National Cosplay Competition, which only had 2 contestants, and they both cosplayed as characters from Cardcaptor Sakura. I was sitting up the back of the hall, but their costumes looked amazing. Next was the Supanova Cosplay Competition, and I moved closer to the stage to get better photos. This competition was bigger and featured cosplays of lots of different characters, from anime, video games, movies, Disney, and superheroes. My favourite was Baymax from Big Hero 6. I wonder how long the costume took to make. This is just a small selection of the cosplays from the competition. They were all pretty awe-inspiring. The last thing I did on Saturday was go to the exhibition hall. It was a lot less crowded at the end of the day. I had a look at the Nintendo and Splatoon stands, where you could play games like Mario Kart 8, Splatoon 2, and Shield Surfing from Breath of the Wild. Earlier in the day, they held the Splatoon 2 Cup Grand Final, but I missed it because it was on at the same time as Peter and Pearl's panel. Oh well. After walking around all of the stalls in the hall, I couldn't fight the urge to buy something. So I bought a big Star Wars mystery box. Later in the video, I'll show you what's inside. All in all, it was a pretty good first day of Supanova. On the second day, I had a wander around the showgrounds and looked at some famous cars before I met up with my friend and her sisters again. We then went to Alan Tudyk's panel. Alan's panel was awesome. He talked about Con Man, how he got the part of K2SO for Rogue One, and he said that King Candy was his favourite voiceover part that he played. He also gave away stuff to people who asked questions, and he signed it. When I say stuff, I literally mean stuff. Some people got photos, while some others got instructions to fences and plastic pockets. He also showed us an animation of K2SO playing with Stormtrooper dolls. After Alan's panel was Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum's panel. I was not allowed to stay in my seat for the next panel and had to go outside and join the end of the line. I was a bit of a grumpy hibiscus because I thought I wouldn't get a seat. To my surprise, I got a seat up the back and got ready to take some photos of some people who I thought I'd never expect to see in real life. Michael was very out there and kept leaning back in his chair. He even fell out of his chair at one point. Tom was very nice and polite. He really was a lot like Clark Kent. They talked about the Kleck ship and what would happen if Clark told Lex his secret. Someone sitting in front of me asked a question for their friend because she was too shy to ask. Tom and Michael wanted her to stand up, but she didn't want to. Michael then came out into the audience and tried to get the girl to stand up and ask her question. I was too shy to ask a question and I would have been really embarrassed if that happened to me, so I hope she wasn't too embarrassed by that experience. While everyone was watching Michael, Tom walked off stage and we had to cheer to get him to come back. In the last part of the panel, Michael went into the audience again and did a speed round of questions. I can't remember what questions were asked, but Tom and Michael gave one-word answers. This panel was the highlight of my time at Supanova, and I was glad I went. Time to show you what's inside the Star Wars mystery box. Inside, there's a 40th anniversary pin, a Jawa pin, a talking Stormtrooper plushie,
put down your weapons, move out, let's go,
a smug-looking Han Solo mug, a Han Solo in carbonite blanket. This thing just cracks me up. Whose idea was it to make this a blanket? A BB-8 oven glove and a chopping board. I'm pleased with this haul of Star Wars stuff. Most of it is practical stuff that I'll end up using. On Sunday, I ended up also buying a Star Wars trivia card game, and it came with a free poster. My time at Supanova was pretty fun. I think I might have enjoyed it more than Comic-Con. To me, it had more variety of film, TV, and video game panels and activities, though I prefer having tiered seating at the panels like at Comic-Con, so it's easier to take photos without getting people's heads in the way. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed my look back at Supanova, why don't you consider subscribing? I make vlogs similar to this, and I also make video game reviews. One last thing. Who is Rogue 4 at the Battle of Hoth? Zev, Dak, or Hobby? See you next time. Bye bye. It was Hobby.